Hello, stop motion enthusiasts and fanatics. This is Stop Motion Magazine's episode 1 podcast, and I am your host, John Akuma. What you'll find in this podcast is an awesome interview with the amazing and talented Teresa Drilling. She is an animator that is well known in the industry and is extremely talented and has a number of awards under her belt. I'll let her explain that in her interview. We had a good time talking over at Bixpic Studios during the production of Tumbleleaf, where we both had worked, and she kind of filled in the blanks in a lot of areas, the stuff that I didn't know about, and that was really wonderful. And the interview speaks for itself. So sit back, have some tea, or if you're at work, get your work done listening to this amazing interview with Teresa Drilling, and I hope you enjoy. And by the way, please always subscribe to Stop Motion Magazine at www.stopmotionmagazine.com and enjoy our free PDF magazine that comes out quarterly, and as well, also you can buy print copies and check for the latest news and updates and stuff like that. So enough of that. Anyway, let's get at it. Here we go. Teresa Drilling, right? Did I say that right?
Yep, that's
awesome.
That's my name.
Awesome. And we are going to talk some animation. So first, let's start at the beginning. How did you get into animation?
Oh, gosh. I got into stop motion animation the way a lot of people in my generation, should I say my generation?
You can.
A lot of the people that got into stop motion animation at about the same time I did, we all kind of got into it by accident, except Chuck Duke. Chuck Duke was going to be an animator, and he was, but everybody else kind of started doing other things.
Sure.
I was a graphic designer for a number of years coming out of school. I went to the Rochester Institute of Technology for graphic design, changed my major to painting, and actually spent a lot of time over in the photo department hanging out with the film students doing animation. So I guess the short answer is the reason I'm in animation is because when my electives came up, I didn't want to do intro to blacksmithing or intro to dovetail box making, which were my only other two options at the time. So
Nice. And then your first career move, can you trace that back to? Like, what was your first gig? Do you remember?
Gosh, I was working doing multi-image slideshows, and one of the owners' friends needed a cell animated series of commercials for a water heating company, so I volunteered for that. So that was fun. And before that, my film partner in college, Robin Christ, and we had to complete a stop motion exercise together, and I was from the art school, she was from the photo school. We said, this is a beautiful thing. We did a film, it got some awards, it got some notice. We did a second film, it was picked up as an HBO short film, we got a distributor, and I thought, oh, okay. So, in the meantime, I got to work, so I took the job doing these multi-image, they were called at the time, doing, corporate slideshows, and had an opportunity to go and meet Steve Oakes, who worked who's one of the principals at Broadcast Arts, which has since morphed into Curious Pictures. Mm-hmm. So through a mutual friend, he introduced me, and Steve said, well, why don't you come to New York? And I said, okay, when? He says, well, how about next week? So I did. And it was when I was in New York working at Broadcast Arts that Vinton's had put out a cattle call for new people in all different areas. And I knew about Will Vinton's. I was a member of ASIFA East, and it was advertised in their newsletter. And I applied there, and they said, great, come on out and start working in the short film division. And out of the short film division came the first claymation Christmas special. And that was my first job at Vinton's.
Wow.
And stayed there for 14 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Consistently?
Yeah.
Or off
well,
and on?
I was there consistency. They actually hired you on full time.
Oh, wow.
And when you were between jobs, it was what was called downtime.
Mhm.
You were still
Sure.
on staff, and you still came to work every day, and you did R&D. You did,
wow.
different training. We had all kinds. I mean,
That's totally different than now. 'Cause-
it's entirely different than now.
Yeah.
And I was kind of spoiled, and
Mhm.
I mean, I realize that now looking back. But I had, a good solid amount of time to really learn my craft.
Mhm.
And I started out with clay animation, claymation,
Mhm.
which I think is probably one of the more difficult stop motion forms.
It is,
So
yeah.
it was good to kind of learn that, and after
Mm-hmm.
that, other things were not as daunting.
Mm.
But toward the end of my time with Vinton Studios, I took a sabbatical and I went over to work on Chicken Run
Oh, okay.
over
Wow.
at Aardman
Yeah. In Europe.
in Europe,
Wow.
in Bristol,
In Bristol.
not in London, in
No,
Bristol.
Bristol.
I had met Peter Lord at a creative conference a number of years before, and they were very kind. They were looking for clay animators, and they gave me an opportunity to come and work with them, and they were just fabulous.
Oh, wow.
And I went back again to work on Curse of the Were-Rabbit, and I went back a third time to work on Creature Comforts America, the series, the very
Wow.
short-lived series.
Short-lived series, which is still great, though.
It's on DVD.
Yeah, I own it.
There's some really good stuff
really,
on it.
really good stuff on there. Yeah. So, in your transition, and for people that are listening, we're recording at Bix Pix in the conference room, and it's Friday and it's weeklies, and it's kind of a party day, hangout, and everybody's drinking and walking around, and you can see. Oh, hey, good to see you. Yeah. So don't worry about that. You'll probably hear some other people in the background.
It's happy sound.
It's happy sounds. Yeah, it's a good studio. So with your career development, I mean, from going from Vinton, where you're learning on a daily basis, I guess, at that time, because there's stuff constantly being thrown at you.
Oh, yeah.
And then transitioning to going to Europe, and you're probably animating on 25 frames per second.
No, we were animating on 24. It was for
24?
film.
Oh, for feature. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So then you have 2s or 1s, and then what was that transition like going from Vinton to Europe? I mean, was there a totally different method to the madness, or?
Well, it was very poetic in that going from the Vinton tradition, clay tradition, to going to the Aardman clay tradition was as similar and different as going from the United States to going to England, where you think, oh, how different can it be? It's like, well, it can be quite different, but it's different in ways that catch you by surprise. So I mean, if you're going to go into an entirely different technique or an entirely different culture, you'd be more aware and catch the stuff. But yeah. The clay's a bit different. At Vinton's, we were shooting on 1s almost all the time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And there's actually almost kind of a point of pride about that. And at Aardman, generally, you would shoot on 2s unless there was a reason to shoot on 1s to prevent strobing for technical reasons. And it was not a cost-saving decision. It's an aesthetic decision. It gives a certain sort of feel and energy to the animation. It gives it some punch and snap.
Okay.
That was really great. That was refreshing. So it was really wonderful to learn different materials, some different production techniques, some different animation techniques. But as far as animators, I have found stop motion animators almost everywhere are pretty much the similar sort of people. They tend to like being nice and sociable and collaborative. Not unfortunately not in every situation or instance or group, but that was my experience.
That's cool. Playing with the Play-Doh over there, huh? We have a guest in the room. It's hanging out. He just made a clay hand, it looks like. Anyway, so with the clay, now you no longer work in clay. you now work with silicone puppets and foam latex and more modern materials, and old school materials. But do you still work in clay? I know there's elements that you can pull out here and there, that doing dirt or doing sand or.
Well, I wouldn't say I don't work with clay anymore. It's I work with all kinds of
Sure.
techniques and materials. It's just clay isn't used as much in non-Vinton and non-Aardman work generally. That said, my first sequence that I was on, working here on.
Don't say the title, because we don't have clearance for that.
Okay,
but the top secret project at
working
Bix
on
Bix.
this top secret, wonderful top secret project.
It is.
I had an opportunity to actually be working with some clay and animating it. So it's something that's always handy,
Sure.
because whether you're working with clay or sand or sugar or whatever, it's a mutable substance. It's plastic.
Right.
So the techniques and sensibilities that you learn in one, you can apply directly to others.
Oh yeah, definitely. What has been your general consensus over the years of the different studios? I mean, how have things changed in from starting whenever you started to today, in terms of, well, I'll let you explain.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a number of things. One is that schedules have just gotten shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. When I started out at Vinton's, we would get a 12-week schedule for a 30-second commercial. And nowadays, I've done a 30-second commercial in like 3 days, all-nighters, not sleeping for 3 days. So that's a change, is that the schedules are much shorter. The pay's gone down. I mean, it just keeps going down. Part of that is the way advertising models have changed. Part of that is more of a globalization. It's the way a lot of things are happening for a lot of people. But one thing that's been really wonderful is that I've been privy to seeing the genesis and the development and the perfection, if I might say that, of how we can look at and record and immediately have a feedback loop on what it is we're seeing, so that we're not, in the old Harryhausen days, way back. I'm not that old.
No, you're definitely not that old. Yes.
But way back, you either use surface gauges, and that just means you keep track of one point in space only from your one last frame. And there's so much you had to just keep in your head all the time, to the point where we could have television security cameras, and you could mark on a monitor with a water-soluble pen your lines of action, to the first lunchbox that was developed by Gary McRobert, that evolved into the animation toolbox. And then over at Aardman, they have their own proprietary star system that they started with. And now, it's culminated in the Clary's Dragon, Dragon Frame software. And
Right.
Oh my God. I cannot think of anything that has made a more technical breakthrough and development in how fast we can do things, how accurately we can do things, how well we can do elements. It's just amazing. I hope at some point he gets an Engineering Academy Award, because it's been that important for stop motion animation. It's just, I can't say enough.
Right. Well, he's definitely pulled the reins on a lot of that stuff and made it so it's accessible to everybody. Because at one point, there was nothing. There was nothing except you had to make something up. I remember the camera. We had this security camera right next to your camera, or it was right through your viewfinder. And then all of a sudden, wait a minute, there's a software.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And it wasn't the first software,
No,
but
it wasn't, yeah.
it's
It's the first one to actually have a full function and be able to have so many
yes,
different options to it. It's
it is a
definitely really
winner.
cool. Yeah, it is a winner. Yes, it is. So, how do you feel about how things have changed? I mean, because you've seen the difference from then and now over the few years. Um, what are your feelings about it? I mean, because globally, it's definitely gotten cheaper. I mean, the advent of the software, the advent of the digital age with the computers and the cameras, it's now accessible to everybody. Whereas before it was you had to have a Mitchell or a Bolex, and now you can just buy a camera off the shelf, buy a piece of software, and have a little laptop, and you can start animating. I mean, what are your feelings about that?
I have a number of feelings about that. I would say that my overall impression is really favorable. I'm very much in favor of access. I'm very much in favor of those who have the particular aptitudes, which is, a little different than skills. Skills you learn, aptitudes, it's what you're born with. That those who have the aptitude get a chance to come out and make their contributions and just help raise the whole form. And I think of it as an art form, one that's put to a lot of commercial use, sure. But, it was a shame back in the day when the only people that could really have access were those who had the money or the connections, and that left a lot of talent kind of, wasted in a way.
Yeah.
And, yes, a lot of people can get their hands on it, and there's a lot of stuff that's, it's good, fun, hobby, amateur stuff, and I don't begrudge that either because it gives people a real appreciation for people who come along and do really amazing stuff.
Sure.
And I mean, frankly, when you're doing this sort of work and you want to do independent work, you can't, for instance, in doing post-production, it used to be that you had to, way back, you had to have access to a Henry system or then to a flame system and then to a flint system. And these are like $100,000, $500,000 systems. And now for a couple $1,000s, you can get the Adobe suite.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's now cheaper.
And it's now, yes.
It's now even cheaper.
Now it's even cheaper, though
Yeah.
you have to be in the cloud.
Yeah, you have to be in the cloud. Kind of sucks, but hey.
No comment. And
I think it sucks. I'm a visual effects artist. I hate it, but it's just a whole separate thing. I also love it, so there's some positives and negatives.
yes. Well, one of the reasons I am disappointed about that and the licensing is that as someone who does independent work on my own time and on my own budget, I can't do things that require a lot of financial investment. I need to be able to access consumer equipment, consumer programs that have enough of a market that the price can come down so that I can afford to do those. I don't have, contrary to.
Oh yeah, I understand.
We aren't rich people.
No, and I think that's the one thing that a lot of people think about Hollywood or even in the film industry or TV industry is you work in that field, you should have tons of money. And in all honesty, I even see this in the music industry that I used to work in. The people that you look up to, the idols that you idolize, they're just like you, and they honestly make the same amount of money as you do, unless they're the lucky ones, and there's a small amount of people that are actually lucky that they'll win some award or they'll sell platinum records or sell a movie or something, very luckily, and they'll make maybe $1 million, maybe $2 million, but at the end of the day, give them 10 years and they're still right back where you were.
Oh yeah. And I can tell you as someone who's won a couple notable awards.
Sure.
It's not like the Nobel Peace Prize. There's no cash that comes with it.
Oh yeah.
In fact, it usually costs a couple $1,000s to
buy the statue, right? Or
no, you don't have to buy the statue. I'm talking about the Emmys, which
oh okay.
are wonderful.
I have an Emmy, but we had to buy the certificates. Luckily, they were given to us, but
and as a woman, it's wonderful to have the gowns and the shoes and get the hair and the makeup and so on, but it's kind of pricey to do that down in Hollywood.
So when you
ready for you
Yeah.
lay it's about like for a small wedding
Yeah, so
dress.
you went to you actually went to the Emmys, and then you what was the award for? What was the production and the title? Was it Best Animator for a small piece or for your feature film? Or?
It was Outstanding Individual Achievement in Animation.
Oh, awesome!
For character animation.
Brilliant.
The first time was for Claymation Comedy of Horrors.
Oh,
which
nice.
was a Halloween show that aired on Mother's Day for some reason.
That's a little weird, yeah.
And then the second one was for Creature Comforts America.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
High five.
Thank you.
Yeah, totally.
What did you win for?
I got for, and this is a funny one. Okay, so I got for Robot Chicken, Star Wars Episode 2 visual effects.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. But I mean, that was an overall production Emmy. So everybody that worked on that production actually got an Emmy.
Yeah,
it wasn't
nice.
for individual achievement like you. I mean, that's amazing. And you're right. When people win awards in that genre or in any genre, usually people go, oh, well, they won this award. They must get some money. There must be some benefit.
Yeah, you're buying drinks.
You're buying drinks. Yeah. The funny thing is too, if you win an award on a big production, like if you're on a full production and you're one of the 64 people that have won for that specific production, you can request a certificate from the Academy, and they can send it to you, or you can purchase plaques, or you can purchase the statue itself, but you have to pay a lot of money, and a lot of people don't realize that. That's like the statue actually costs quite a bit of money, and I know somebody actually. I apprenticed under somebody for years for sound design and Foley, and he has a wall full of Emmys for The Simpsons, and he's a brilliant guy. His name's Travis Powers, and the amount of stuff that he has on his walls, Emmy awards for The Simpsons, is just amazing. It's amazing. And then after having worked in the industry, you start to realize they don't just give those things away. I mean, you watch the Emmys, you go, oh, they just give them away. Or even the Academy Awards, they just give those things away. No, you have to work pretty hard to get there.
Oh, I think they give some of them away.
I'm sure they do.
But it's a big deal.
Yeah.
To mount those kinds of productions. I mean, they're huge. I mean, they have to rent out the Nokia Center or wherever they're going to have. I mean,
oh yeah,
they're very expensive.
Well, the other thing too is production-wise, and I guess we kind of went off the rails here a little bit, but production-wise, in TV production versus film production, and I've done both so far, and I've been in the field for a little bit, but I've noticed a huge difference in mentality of at least the novice artist going into both, and having been a novice artist and now having had a career in this field, the initial idea is that everything is simple and it's going to be laid back and it's going to be cake.
No.
Yeah, and it's not like that at all. You go, oh, I'm going to go work on a feature film. I can just sit back and just do my work. And no. You have to put in your hours and you have deadlines and stuff like that. So, segueing into this, what's the pressure like for an animator? Because I've animated some stuff, but you've definitely trumped me in this field. So, for animating as an animator and having to deal with hardcore deadlines, I mean, the pressure's on, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think Nick Park had this wonderful. I better not paraphrase him. You should ask Nick Park. He's got a wonderful quote about what that's like. Yes, stress is definitely part of what it is an stop motion animator does professionally. Stress is definitely part of a stop motion animator's job description, and you need to be able to figure out ways of dealing with it. And I know different people have different ways of dealing with it. None of it's really a cakewalk. But, you wouldn't be in this business if you were, or you not very long. Because you have to get things in. You have to get things on time. If you're working on a commercial, a client may have already bought $5 million worth of airtime that if you don't get it done, they're out that money, which it doesn't matter what you're being paid. When you have that responsibility, you're like, okay, but relax so that you can do some good work, and you need to nail it. But that said, I have even more respect and empathy in this area for the editors and for the music composers, because they have to deal with stuff after me, and there's still that deadline. I mean, so I can't play the martyr card on this, because there are other people that are in a hotter seat than me.
Yes. And then there's people, not just the editors. There's
Then there's post-production,
and then you also have the people that started it before you even touch the puppets or the sets and stuff, that had to build the puppets or build the sets, and they have their deadlines, and there's budgets for them, and then if they go over, it's all hell to pay. And,
so even on big feature films that are wonderful and beautiful, I mean, you can think, oh, they could just throw money out the window. It's like, well, maybe some people, some places can do that, but mostly no. You still have parameters you have to work within. And to tell you the truth, I find that a lot of times I'm more creative when I have to come up with another way of doing something that fits it within the parameters that are given. Now, that works great if you have somebody who you're working for who understands that and allows you to do that. It's kind of a real pinch when you have somebody that insists on it being done a very specific way and you've got no wiggle room, and at that point you just got to take it out of your gut, and your lifespan for whatever stress and I've been on projects where you don't get enough sleep, you don't get enough proper nutrition, you don't even get enough water, I mean, you don't take enough showers. I mean,
stand for 36 hours nonstop.
And by the way, for what we do, we stand on concrete for
nonstop.
Usually a normal day is a 10-hour day. That's become the industry standard in this country. It's a little less in the UK.
They have tea time. No more tea time?
Well,
is it all over? Is it all done?
Actually, when I was working at Aardman, they would come around with a tea trolley.
Right. There's a tea cart lady.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, or guy.
Yeah. I mean, they don't buy us.
Usually it's the PA. It's like your first job is you're going to do the tea trolley.
Right.
And they go around to your set and ask if you want tea. And I thought, oh, this is kind of nice, but it's like they're bringing you your tea so you don't stop working. It wasn't until I've been working there for a couple of years and I happened to go upstairs to the canteen, and it's like everybody's hanging out, taking a break for 15 minutes, eating cake in the canteen. I'm like, what is this? And they're like, it's tea. I'm like, oh, that's why we got the tea trolley. So we stayed downstairs on the stage.
Yes, exactly.
But I mean, still, it's a break that we don't get in other places.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and that's when it's kind of a shame when you're not able to take care of yourself anymore, just basic stuff. So I find that when I'm on a big project, I've just come to the point where I realize I'm on a marathon and I can't play it like a sprint. So I don't party. I don't drink. I don't really do a lot. I make sure that I do my laundry. I make sure I get sleep whenever I can, and that I have healthy food. And there's not really much more time for anything else. And when things go into overdrive, you kind of have to go, well, okay, maybe for 1 week I can kind of cheat the devil a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, you always pay for it. One way or another.
Yeah, sitting around for 10 hours a day, you get a beer gut like I have. So.
Well, and you also lose your strength, and you can get a bad back.
Well, that's a big point of getting up and exercising as much as you can. In my position, I'm sure in your position, you might have something that you might do yoga or something, or stretching. Is there kind of stretching?
Well, every time
special shoes.
Well, I actually do wear. I found a brand of shoes that I can stand on for 10 hours a day.
Okay.
So it's my uniform.
What's the brand?
Oh, that wouldn't be fair.
Okay.
But I am free and open for endorsements.
Nice. Let's see if we can get you a pair of Nikes or something.
Yeah. So anyway, I have a uniform.
Okay.
I have pants with pockets. I've got an apron where I can stick my phone and some tools at hand. I always bring my hair back in chopsticks because it's out of the way.
And it's stylish.
Well, thank you.
There you go.
I'll not feel so strange about it. And no skirts. I'm a skirts gal. There's no skirts.
No skirts.
No skirts. No tights. No. It's like
Yeah.
I go in, I hit the ball, I run the base. But one of the things that is really important that you visual effects people very much appreciate is when we make sure when we're taking these nice modern digital photos that are very, very sensitive to not only bounce from whatever white you're wearing, but the color that you're wearing.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that.
A lot of people do or don't.
They don't. They
Well,
just
no.
will wear a white T-shirt and they become a big bounce
Like,
card.
you kind of have to. I don't know if anybody mentions it. It depends. It's kind anyway. So I'm aware of it. So what I do, because we have our sets generally are higher, like chest height, so that you can stand straight and bring your arms straight out to animate.
Sure.
Just generally, is every time it's time to take a frame, I just do a big yoga stretch and I just bend all the way down and grab my ankles and get a nice back stretch, and I'm like, I'm gone. I'm like below the table surface.
Wow.
So yeah, that helps.
What about fatigue mats?
Oh, fatigue mats are wonderful. And in the wonderful place I'm working right now on this big secret project, they're very good about giving us fatigue mats.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
The studio's been around for a little bit here, so they know what's going on.
Yeah, well, they're made and run by animators, so they understand.
Yeah,
you know, what
exactly.
we kind of need.
Exactly. I've actually worked on productions where they didn't have any fatigue mats, and you had to bring your own, and you're like, what? Really? You
Those
don't?
are expensive.
I just go and triple and quadruple them up and tape them down. Harbor Freight. Get
Oh,
a
wow.
big packet.
Yeah.
And just stack them on top of each other.
God bless Harbor Freight.
Yeah, it's cheap. $7, I think.
Great for the short term.
Yeah. It works out. Now, where's your residency? Because you've traveled a lot in the industry to work. So is your home base in Oregon, or is it in California, or?
Well, that's a really good question. My home, meaning my house, and my family, and my other job, is in Portland, Oregon at the moment. But I work on the road, and I've got a base down in California that's been pretty sweet too. So I mean, I'm kind of bi-metro.
That's great, though.
Yeah.
It's good that you can do that.
It's a godsend, and it's because, segue for the mom talk. Okay,
Sure.
if you find yourself on a job where you're making a bunch of money, you're like, wow, you could go out and buy a fancy Lexus, you could go on a trip around the world in a sailboat, or you can put a mortgage payment down, down payment, and you will curse because it will take all of your extra money and it will drive you to keep finding work wherever you can. But at the end of the day, it is like the best investment you could possibly make.
Yeah.
So I bought a house, or I'm still actually technically buying it, a long time ago, and now, you get to that magic point where the rent in the area is higher than your mortgage.
And that's beautiful, yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing, because then you have the ability to go and pay rent someplace else too.
Yeah, that's
So
great.
I there's lots of great people and great jobs down here in Southern California. So, and I've worked in New York too, and there's great people out there, and
Did you do commercial work in or was it like on a Celebrity Deathmatch or something?
No, I didn't work on Celebrity Deathmatch, though a lot of my friends did. No, I worked, as I said, I got my start at Broadcast Arts, and just a couple summers ago, I went and I worked for Hornet for Peter Sluska, great director who also is an animator, so he's so good. And that was a wonderful big clay animated metamorphosis show that was for an automotive client, and the gas crisis with the $4 and above gallon gas struck, and they didn't release the commercial in this country.
Oh no!
But it's great because it was five or six of us at a time animating on this huge metamorphosing set, and it was like, I got a feeling for what it's like for musicians to have a jazz session where everybody trusts each other and does a little bit here and covers for everybody else, and So it was like that. It was great.
Yeah.
It was in 105-degree heat and 80% humidity under really hot lights. But other than that, it was amazing.
Yeah. I've heard nightmare stories where it was below freezing and the animators are outside and the animators are animating inside. It's like 20 degrees inside and they're bundled up.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a project where you in the wintertime you had your fingerless gloves.
Okay.
And that's where actually I did wear skirts.
Okay.
Because I could stand over the top of the space heater and I held this bell-shaped cone of warmth to keep me from freezing.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I guess you have advantages being a girl. So I'll segue into something there. What's it like being a woman in a male-dominated field? I mean, yes, there's a lot of women nowadays, but that wasn't always the case. Am I correct?
I am so thrilled to see so many coworkers who are women.
Sure. There's a lot now.
There are.
Yeah,
there
and
are.
it's great.
I first saw a greater influx when Aardman made a specific choice. This is what I've heard anyway. Is that they made a choice when they made Chicken Run that well, we should make a point of making sure that we hire and train up women because I mean the characters are almost all female.
All female. Yeah.
Except for Fowler and Rocky.
And the dog, yeah. One of the dogs too. Or is both dogs? I don't even know.
I couldn't tell you about the dogs.
No one can really tell. Actually.
No,
yeah,
they were just mean.
Yeah,
Doesn't
they're just
matter.
mean.
So now there's a lot of stuff because of that. It was a great entryway, and Aardman has a wonderful internal training program. That now there are female stop motion animators overseas. There's a lot more here. At the time when I started working, I guess I was one of the first. I wasn't the first, so I thought, oh, okay, this is like, anything else that I've been involved in where there was just usually more guys. I took mechanical drawing in high school, and the only woman that had taken it in like 20 years.
Wow.
So I just got used to like, well, okay, there's always guys around.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until people started pointing out, I was like, well, you're a woman. I'm like, yes, but I don't need those bits to animate. So okay. Well,
yeah. All you need is hands and eyes.
Hands and eyes and a brain.
And a brain. Yeah.
But then I became aware that that other women were starting to be in the business and they were looking up to me, which was kind of caught me by surprise. And then I kind of felt like, oh man, I got to get my act together here. And when people ask me questions, I got to be able to give them encouragement and mentor them and all that sort of thing. So is there a glass ceiling? I don't really know. I mean, I have my suspicions, but if there is or there has been, it's not as bad as it used to be. Is there bias that's more based on ageism? I think there is some of that in place. I don't think it's something that is intentional. I think it's just that as talented people kind of come into their own, they tend to hire people their own age group or in their own peer group. And also another thing that happens when you've been doing it for a while is you get, and if you're really working hard at continuing to improve and do good and to share and all that, people begin to recognize your name and then put on top of that a couple of words, and then they're like, oh, she wouldn't be interested.
Oh, she's too expensive.
Or she's too expensive, or oh, she wouldn't be interested in this. We're not even going to ask her.
Oh yeah.
And in the meantime, I'm like, well, I'm sitting here at home, and I guess I'll do some gardening today. And,
I might make something, maybe. Yeah. No, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, so people are surprised when they say, hey, I've got this interesting project. It's a personal thing, but it's I can help out a little bit. And I mean, you wouldn't be interested, would you? Like, sure.
Yeah.
Or like, oh. we have just an animator position. It's like, I love to animate. It's like,
Yeah.
really? You take that? But you've been a director before. You've been an animation supervisor before. That's like going down the ladder. It's like, well, I kind of don't look at it that way.
Yeah.
It's like, it's interesting work. And, when you move around and do different tasks, it keeps you better at all of them. That's my experience.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think as well, when you work in any field, as you get older, your bosses kind of get younger. You know what I mean? Like you're getting older and the bosses are getting younger.
And I don't have a problem with that at all, because, there's lots of fresh ideas with fresh people.
Personally, I sometimes do. Really, when you're working with somebody, you want somebody that has experience, and if you're going to be directed by somebody, you want somebody that's creative. So there's one thing to say being directed by somebody that's creative, that's not experienced and has no idea what they're doing, versus somebody that's experienced with no creativity.
I've experienced the entire range,
spectrum, and
it's just kind of
it's all over the place.
It's part of that life lesson of finding your Zen place and doing your best to be helpful, as helpful as someone will let you be.
Yeah. Have you ever come into a production that was already derailed and had to come and save it? You don't have to say which production it was.
I wouldn't be so arrogant as to say that I've come in and saved a production.
Okay, good. But you've come in and helped out.
I've come into to productions that have needed additional help, and I've been part of a group of people or team of people that have come in. There's a whole range on that.
Sorry, I drank the beer wrong way.
No, you drank it the right way. You just drank too quick. I really enjoy coming in towards the ends of productions, which happens a lot.
Yeah,
sometimes.
I've done that too, and it's kind of an interesting experience.
Well, maybe this is obtuse and strange,
no worries. Yeah.
But at the end of a production is when, like, all pretenses and all bull is gone, and it's like, okay, what do we need to do? How do we do this? There isn't all that tiptoeing around. It's like, this is what we need. This is what's going on. Talk directly. Yeah. And that's where the big pressure starts. And it's an opportunity to see what people really are made of. You can see who's going to fly apart. You can see, it's like going out drinking with somebody. You find out who are the angry drunks, who are the sad drunks, and who are the happy drunks.
Right.
So it's kind of that same way. You're like, okay, who's going to throw people under the bus? Yeah, exactly. Who's going to jump in and save your butt? It's like, give you a wink and say, between us, don't say anything. And it's exciting, know. And if you come in at the end like that, you're like, you're the fresh cavalry, so people are happy to see you, and if you help it through, you get to be a hero. If it doesn't work, it's not your fault. Right. It's just.
I've worked in lots of different genres and materials and what do you call it? I guess genres is really what it is. Maybe not genres. Mediums, I guess you could say. So from live action to stop motion and back and forth and held different positions. And I've noticed that when you come in in the middle, that you're usually coming in to fix something because no one else has an answer. But when you come in at the end, you're coming in also to save the production because time is limited and they know what they need finally, and they want somebody experienced and has an idea of what they're doing. And
well, in all fairness, with stop motion, there's something called the ramp up too.
Sure.
So you could come in the middle and everything's going just perfectly.
Sure.
It's just while sets are being made, while puppets are being made, you can't have too many animators going because there's not enough assets for them to work with. And you can't wait until everything's all done. Okay, now bring in the animators. It's like, should we have such schedulers?
I've seen productions like that, honestly. I've seen people, where they bring people in after everything's been made, and you go, wait a minute.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of unfortunate, too.
And you go, did you talk to the animator about how the puppets should be made and how the sets should be done? And
yeah, there's been a couple of those, too.
Yeah. Those are fun, though. I think
they're fun for a while.
I think what I'm getting at is regardless of your position or regardless of what you're doing, the productions are typically fun, even with the stress and stuff.
Well, you have to find your own fun. It's like, do you want to in life, do you want to decide to be happy or do you want to decide to be unhappy? You know, a lot of it, and I'm not saying that there aren't real problems, and I'm not saying that there aren't real wonderful situations where people have gone above and beyond to make everybody feel welcome and comfortable. But I've been doing this for a long time, and stop motion animation can be very tedious and can try your patience. And the higher up you go in the food chain, the more strange things get. And the better projects you're on, the more high visibility projects you're on, the more you run into eccentric creative types that are like racehorses. They're amazing. Nobody else can do what they can do, but their nerves are like boom, right on the edge, you know? And I mean, you have to decide at some point, am I going to accept that sometimes difficult personalities, less than ideal situations, and even physically uncomfortable environments are part of this? Are you going to look at that and think those are all reasons for me to complain and not be happy? Or are you going to say, wow, okay, that's what it is, but let's get over this, and what are we going to do about it? And maybe we can go, wow, that's really cool. I did that with a toothpick and a piece of gum.
Right.
Get out, really? Yeah.
Yeah. So, uncomfortable situations, how is it to animate with a bunch of wires and stuff constantly around you? I mean, bumping into something and throwing everything off is probably like on your mind constantly.
You develop like this sixth sense, like I call it animation Tai Chi, where I have very good spatial awareness, which is a very good aptitude for a stop motion animator to have.
I'm a bull in a china closet. So.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom sits in the car with me when I drive, and she goes, ah! She says, do you know how much room you had? And I says, I had about 1.5 inches. She says, yes. I says, but I had 1.5 inches, and I knew it.
Yeah.
We were going to run into them.
You're fine.
I had 1.5 inches.
Yeah. I mean, we could have gone just with 1 inch.
So, I mean, the less that is in my way, the faster I can work. And the less there's going to be problems for post effects, because there's less chance of things crossing or wires or anything throwing shadows you don't want and so on. Yeah, I mean, you can put light stands on the floor. You can build sets entirely. You can entirely enclose a set. You can, put it low light. You can, tie a hand behind my back and tie a rat on my face. And I still have to find a way to animate it.
Right.
You could also put everything up off the ground in rigs and have big open spaces and lighting that doesn't have my shadow in it everywhere. And I'll go faster.
Sure.
I might, if I go faster, or if I don't have to worry so much about encumbrances, I can think more about the performance. If you really want to have good emotive character performance, help me focus on that instead of all these other things. But you do what you have to do.
Sure. Okay, final question, and it's going to be a good one. What inspires you? Who inspires you? And how have they inspired you? That was 3 questions. Sorry.
That was a sneaker.
That was a good one, though. And we have crickets.
Well, I'm thinking that's a big question.
It is. It's a huge question.
Well, I'm a teacher also. I'm a teacher and a mentor. That's one of my other jobs when I'm not in production.
And where do you teach?
Currently, I teach at the Art Institute of Portland, but I do workshops all over the place.
Cool.
One of the things that really inspires me is to see people who are discovering this for the first time, discovering any aspect. So working with people that have a sense of wonder and curiosity and appreciation for the amazing, cool stuff that gets to happen around us, that's the best. That's what I'm always looking for. And when people around me have that too, that's great. And when I can help bring that to somebody for the first time in their life or help start them on their career, that's great. You know, I love this form. It's an art form. Like I said before, it's often used for commercial uses, and it's not explored as far as it could be yet as an art form in itself. But it's one that I feel resonates on many different levels for a lot of different people. And I want to see it thrive. I want to see it move forward and develop and blossom in the future. And whatever I can do and whatever I see other people doing to accomplish that, that's the thing that most inspires me.
Very cool. Awesome. Teresa Drilling, thank you very much. And this has been the Stop Motion Magazine podcast. And stay tuned for more information. And do you have anything in closing that you want to tell the listeners?
Don't get addicted to diet soda.
Rock on. All right, thank you, and we'll see you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
So that concludes the Stop Motion Magazine podcast, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I would also like to point out that we're going to have a few more podcasts as well. I think there's about 5 in total of this series, and we should also point out that there's free PDF magazines that you can download from our website, stopmotionmagazine.com, as well as you can get the latest information and news about what's happening in the stop motion industry and the world and independent projects and such. And you can purchase print copies of our magazine as well. I should mention that through indieplanet.com, which is a print-on-demand service. And you can go to our website where we have all that information for each specific issue. And we thank you for listening, and please stay tuned for more podcasts and more stuff going on. So have a good day.